Do we know of anybody who was driven to some level of insanity or suicide or social problems on a serious level due to Dungeons & Dragons? Or any role-playing game, for that matter?
We don't. There was actually a mathematician who wrote a book about how people don't understand numbers and statistics, and he used the panic over Dungeons & Dragons to prove his point. So Patricia Pulling, her son committed suicide in 1982, and she blamed this on playing Dungeons & Dragons in his English honors class in high school, and she formed a group called Bothered About Dungeons & Dragons. And she was really a terror for Dungeons & Dragons in the 80s, and she would be hired by law enforcement to talk about the dangers of this game. But she kept what people called the Patricia Pulling trophy list. So she kept a list of all of these cases of murders and suicides where there was some tangential connection to Dungeons & Dragons. And even if we accept that all of those were connected to Dungeons & Dragons, which I don't think any of them were, if you actually add up how many people commit suicide every year, it actually suggested that statistically D&D makes you less likely to commit suicide, not more likely. And I actually found a really interesting case from the 80s with a therapist, and he had a teenager who was involved in self-harm, and he was cutting himself and things like this, and was playing Dungeons & Dragons. And he would play a lawful evil character, and then the therapist would talk to him about, the decisions that his character made in the game. And this was really controversial, right? That you could choose to play an evil character. Mm. And he said, this was a huge breakthrough because he could actually it was a way of talking about thoughts that were sort of otherwise forbidden, and he could sort of, by talking about the lawful evil character, all this stuff came out about his father, and the kid kind of got better. So there's more evidence that Dungeons & Dragons is therapeutically healthy than that it causes suicide.
Yeah, for me, I played D&D until about ninth grade, so I was all about D&D and Doctor Who. And then in ninth grade, I got into wanting to get a girlfriend and punk rock. And so I had these two separate groups of friends. And now that I'm an adult, I look and I know these friends, thanks to Facebook, and I look back on both of them, and the ones who are doing much better in life are the ones who are the D&D nerds. Those are the ones who, one of them is a storyboard artist for DreamWorks, business owners, confident, happily married, long-term relationships, no drug problems, and that second group of friends, not so much.
And I do think there's an argument that role-playing games really help you think about the consequences of your actions. Yeah. It's kind of a way of meditating. Well, what would happen if I did this? What would happen if I did that? There are other subcultures where thinking before you do something is considered to be cowardly or makes you a sellout or something. So right. I think D&D is a pretty healthy activity for a lot of reasons.
And really sort of promotes creativity and promotes thinking outside of the box and problem solving. And I really felt that it was very positive, a very eye-opening part of my existence.
Yeah, me too.